Hey everyone, on this week's episode of Living for the Weeknight, I am with Bethan, also known by her Instagram page as Meatgrinder. So Bethan's someone who does photography and interviews for different artists, and she posts it on her Instagram page. She's actually someone I met through Instagram because we both followed each other, and it was cool because I saw her launching her project, originally on her Instagram, as she will tell you. And given I was starting the podcast at the same time, I reached out to her and we thought it'd be a cool idea if she came on the podcast. So yeah, guys, I think you're really going to enjoy this one. And also, if you're one of my listeners, please hit the follow button and give me a rating. You know how much I hate saying that, but it's necessary apparently for the algorithm. And also, I'm keen to hear any feedback, so please use the feedback option on Spotify or message me on my Instagram account, which is Living for the Weeknight. And cheers, enjoy. So hey Bethan, how's it going?
I'm fine, thank you. How are you?
I'm good. I'm not sweating in the heat in England anymore. It's a bit cooler now, so life is much better.
It is. It's much cooler here. It's raining actually now, which is a bit depressing, but it's fine.
The end of English summer. It was great while it lasted for 4 days.
It was too great. It was too hot in my opinion.
Yeah, and we still complained. We were asking for summer for so long. We got it, and what did we do? We complained.
We're never happy, are we?
We aren't. We're English people. We're miserable. So on a brighter note, it's good to have you on here. And so today I'm with Bethan. And Bethan, do you want to tell me who are you and what do you do?
Yes, absolutely. So my name's Bethan. I'm 20 and I'm working a degree apprenticeship for a big telecommunications company. So I work a 40-hour week and then a bit of uni on the side. But in my spare time, or my free time, I turned my little photography hobby into I'm going to call it a project. I'll call it a project based on my Instagram account called Meatgrinder. MF Doom reference, there you go, for the fans. And I basically just hang out with a bunch of artists and take photos for them, pretty much.
I love that. That sounds great. And is it something... When you started doing the photography, was it always with artists, or how did it start? Tell me the good old origin story.
So it started pretty casually. I think I just got some disposable cameras for Christmas, and I took them to one of me and my friends' parties. I took photos, and a couple of them came out really cool, and I was like, right, well, I'm going to run with this, because me being me, the second I think I'm good at something, I'm gone. There she goes. And so I just started taking my camera out with me everywhere. This is during my gap year, so a lot of partying, a lot of going out. And then went on a couple of holidays with us. And sort of when I moved to Bristol, I was surrounded by a lot more artists, because a lot of my friends go to the music colleges and the unis here. And so I was taking photos of them, and I sort of thought, well, I could make this into something a bit more productive, a bit more useful for them, and also get me some really cool content. So I sort of started taking photos of friends, and that's kind of how it got started. Yeah.
So when was the stage where you decided, you knew you were good with this, you started running with it, you were taking it on holidays and stuff, helping your friends out? When did you... I remember seeing on your Instagram when you actually kind of launched this as more of a project. When was that and what caused that?
So it wasn't too long ago, to be fair. It must be a couple months, maybe 4-5 months ago. I sort of thought I need to find something other than work and uni to do. And I thought, right, well, this is something I really enjoy. It's not something I want to make into it's never wanted to be something profitable, financed. It's all financed by me, all for a bit of fun. And I don't know. I think just seeing the likes come through almost in a non-narcissistic way. It was like, oh, people appreciate me taking these photos of them. This is really cool. I like this feeling. Let's keep going with it.
It's kind of nice to have something, for yourself, something which is just beyond work and study, because sometimes it can be a bit, life can be a bit overwhelming just having work and study, and I think it's nice to be able to kind of break free from that and pursue very different things. And would you say like you've always been pretty artistic, or have you pursued any other projects before, or is this like the first one outside of work and studies?
I would actually say I'm pretty unartistic. I have little to no musical talent. I can't draw, I can't paint. I can write a little bit. I'm an okay-ish writer, but I would never say I've always been a creative person. I've always wanted to be. I've always been very envious of it. And so I think that's part of what has driven me to want to do this, because it's I've got my little foot in the door with the creative people, because that's who I tend to hang around with more, I find, and I enjoy their company more, but I feel like I couldn't really contribute as much. But now I feel like I have a little place in this creative community, and I feel like quite appreciated.
And it's quite nice because you just said first like you weren't someone who's creative or artistic, but at the same time here you are doing an artistic project now. And has it been like nice to kind of show yourself that maybe before you perceived yourself as not being so artsy, but you're demonstrating that you are?
It is nice, yeah. I think it makes me a more interesting person, to be honest, because when someone goes, "Oh, what's this account in your bio?" I get to go on a whole spiel about myself and what I do. It's great.
Yeah, it's better than going on a spiel about what you study at uni, isn't it?
There's only so many times I can say chartered business management.
Yeah. Yeah, say no more. But sorry about that. Um, but no, it's nice because I thought it was cool because for the audience, Bethan and I actually don't know each other in real life, nor have we ever met person to person. I remember receiving like a follow from you ages ago, and then your photography did actually look really cool, so I followed back. And then I remember seeing your post when you kind of talked about where you want to go with the project and what direction you're going in. And because given I was starting my podcast at the same time, I was like, oh, this person seems cool. Why don't I reach out and ask them if they want to be on a podcast with someone they've never met? And here we are today. So it is kind of nice, just from both of us pursuing our ventures. Here we are on a podcast together, and I bet a year ago probably wouldn't have thought you'd be on a podcast, would you?
No, not at all. I probably would have laughed at myself a little bit. But no, the fact that our projects came together at such a similar time, it's almost as if it's a little bit of fate. And I was just like, yeah, of course I'm going to give this a go. Why not? When am I ever going to get asked to be on a podcast again?
Wow, you might come to fame after this podcast. All of my one listeners who may or may not be you will listen, and then you're going to have like international stardom being on all the biggest podcasts. Like, what's your favourite podcast? Do you have one, or is it mine?
Oh, well, obviously yours, but second, I always hear clips from Saving Grace. Is that GK Barry? What is her name? She is hilarious. Have you seen some of hers?
I don't know who that is, so I'm sorry.
If you want a good laugh, Saving Grace is amazing.
Okay. I'll need to give that a go. I'll add it to the list. I feel bad because whenever I'm given kind of like a pop culture reference, I just don't know. Like, I have to admit, I don't know what MF Doom is. What is MF Doom?
MF Doom's a rapper. Rest in peace. He has passed away, but he's just a really good lyricist. And I wanted a really cool name for my account, and I thought, right, it was actually originally meant to be a different song by him called "Do Not Fire," but Instagram doesn't like to have exclamation marks, so I went with not MF Doom. I went with Meatgrinder.
Ah, nice. And is this an artist who like you've kind of like growing up have always been into, or anyone who gave you some inspiration?
You know what? I'm gonna be honest. I've not always been an MF Doom fan. I think in the last 2 years, you know how it happens when an artist dies and suddenly everyone listens to them. Unfortunately, I'm in that category. But the thing that I really liked about him is a lot of his artwork on his albums, and I ended up buying his vinyls, and from there, and also the songs that I liked, I'm now listening to him almost daily, I reckon.
I love that. I love that. And with your project, you've always got a reference to him as well. And it's kind of nice because, in a few years' time or however long into the future, you can always kind of look back on your name for this project and remember this artist. So in a way, it's paying tribute to them.
Oh, absolutely. I think he is just the coolest of the coolest, to be honest.
Okay, shout out to MF Doom. Haven't listened to MF Doom's music? Give it a go, audience. But so you're doing this project now, and what has the adjustment been since starting? Like, how have you kind of found it to balance your work, your studies, and this project at the same time since commencing this adventure?
You know what? So far, it's been all right. To balance it with work and uni, I haven't found too difficult because I try and leave that all at work if possible. I don't like to mix because then I feel like it's consuming me and I spend too much time thinking and worrying about it. With social life, it's been a little bit more difficult. I went through a little bit of a rubbish breakup recently, and so I kind of stopped a little bit. And I had a moment away from it, and some poor people that I was meant to meet, I had to be like, look, I'm sorry, I'm busy, I've gone home for a bit. But since then, within the last 2 weeks, I've been organising and planning loads more meetups. I had one, was it yesterday? Yesterday, I met with a digital artist, and he was really cool, took a couple of photos for him. And then tomorrow, I'm off to go see a band and watch them rehearse as well. So I'm getting back into it. I just needed a little bit of a break, just a bit of me time, and now I'm feeling a lot better. So it's worked quite well.
I'm glad to hear, and it's a good thing. I think for your mental health, it's important that when you do need to take time away, that you take time away, and you never need to give anyone an apology or a justification. It's life. It's important. We're not superheroes, and we can't do everything in one go.
Exactly.
But I'm glad for you. And but do you find with the project though, so social life can be very difficult balancing because we only have so much time, but from the project, what joy and happiness do you get out of it?
You know what? I think it's actually really brilliant what I get to do. I actually find it really fun, and I have a lot of joy from it. I meet so many different people that I really just wouldn't meet at all ever. I've hung out with people nearly double my age, who have been really, really cool, and I've really, really enjoyed it, and I just wouldn't do that. So I think I've made some pretty good friends out of it, which is amazing. Seeing as being locked up in the office with quite more middle-aged people, that can be quite difficult to make friends. So I think the biggest takeaway so far from it has been hanging out with really cool people, and those cool people thinking I'm cool and doing something cool together.
That's really nice, and I think it's so good as well. Especially when you're in the work life and the uni life, to have an opportunity to expand your circles. Just from my experience of when I was at university and also just working, sometimes it can be quite bubblish in terms of, there's nothing wrong with that, but in terms of people are very similar to you, have similar ideals, similar principles, it's just nice to meet people who are super different. And maybe this question can't be answered, but do you have any favourite people you've worked with yet, or is that insulting to everyone else if you kind of admit to that?
I can answer this question actually, because I think there's only one right answer. I have two best friends. We both or three of us, sorry, moved to Bristol together last year. One, shout out to my girl Zoe. She is a singer-songwriter and a beautiful soul. And then my other best friend, Lily. The three of us spend as much of our waking time together as possible. And I think they're the most beautiful models in the whole world, to be honest.
Oh, I love that. That's very sweet, and you're right. You have given a good answer without offending people, because that's a good justification. First, I thought you were going to say there's only one right answer being on this podcast with you. That was the second right answer.
But no, I have worked with some really, really cool artists, and I've got some even cooler ones coming up. I actually can't believe some of the people who approached me. I'm just like, are you sure you want to work with me? Okay, let's do it.
That's incredible. And one thing I wanted to ask you was, I've noticed like your account has like is growing fast. Like you seem to have social media under wraps. How do you do it? Do you have any tips for someone who's trying to grow their podcast?
Well, unfortunately, I would do what some people would consider cheating. What I do is I follow people who follow topics that are of similar interests, and I hope and pray they look at my account 5 seconds and go, yeah, she's cool, let's give her a follow back.
Nice. Is it just follows or follows and likes or comments as well?
Sometimes likes, especially if it's like artworks. I feel like people will really notice and appreciate when you like a piece of art they've put time into. A couple of times I've commented, or sometimes if I see someone from TikTok, I've messaged them before, and just said, oh, I just really appreciate your work. But I also make sure I post regularly. I schedule all my posts every other day. Meatgrinder should post. And then just stories, regular stories, maybe every couple of days. I just try and keep on top of it and make sure, well, if someone's going to follow me, they want to see something, really. So I make sure they've got something to look at.
So with that kind of balance you're achieving there, given you are on top of it, you've got regularly scheduling posts and stories. Do you like how do you get yourself to kind of be prepared in that aspect? Is it kind of on an as and when basis of when you have time, or do you kind of set aside time?
It's probably a mixture of both, actually. Sometimes, like today, I was like, oh, right, I need to write a bio for this artist. And I just cracked on and gave me 20 minutes to just write it down quickly. But a lot of the time, I don't really need to think about it and worry about it. I just do it because I really enjoy it. And like today, I was happily just went the long route home to go just deliver some film to get developed, and it's never a bother. I never complain, and spending money on it's the only thing I don't complain about spending money on is my film and my food, and I think that's the best way. If I don't enjoy it, I wouldn't do it, to be honest.
It's nice because it truly shows you're doing something that you're very passionate about, and you seem excited. This is awesome. Like you seem so happy about it, excited to see where it goes. And given I've just asked about where it goes, do you have any kind of thoughts about that? Because given you started off with photography, do you want to kind of do anything else, like interviews, or what are you thinking?
So, first and foremost, I don't think I ever want it to become a profitable thing. I don't think that's at all the aim I'm after. And so I'm not expecting it to become huge sort of thing. If it does, that's nice, but it's not the priority, it's not the aim. I'm quite happy doing it at my own little cute pace. But I've dabbled a little bit with a couple of interviews, but I'm never too sure what sort of media to use. I've done one that was recorded, like a video, and another one that was just the audio. So I'm just messing around with that at the moment. But I think at the moment I'm predominantly photography, and I guess that comes under like I'm doing a bit of promotion for the people that I'm taking photos for. A couple of people that I've done photos for have gained a couple followers. Nothing crazy. A couple followers from it.
No, that's cool. That is, like I'm sure it's going to like snowball in many different ways you don't know about yet, but that's kind of part of the process. And especially like, you just mentioned about doing interviews and not sure where exactly to publish it. It's part of the process. You'll figure it out. It's I don't think anyone ever really knows when they start out with something like this, kind of all the answers, but over time you'll like kind of learn not only like just where to publish stuff, but just kind of what it is you like doing from it, and maybe things you try and maybe don't like doing.
No, yeah, I'm really, really enjoying it at the moment. I can't lie.
That's good. Given you touched on social media as well, there is, of course, a lot of use of social media from doing this. So given I'm an old man, I don't have TikTok, but I do have Instagram, which is how I found your account. Do you also use TikTok to promote?
I am a massive TikTok watcher, not so much a user. I have posted a couple I think my 3 TikToks that I have posted have been about Meatgrinder and just showing some of my favourite photos, but none of them have really taken off yet. I'm not quite a TikTok star.
It's a very different social media to navigate. Like I say, I'm an old man and don't use it, but I did make an account for the podcast just in case. Not to say I've ever opened it. But like kind of you've probably found this as well, but the kind of whole science behind social media kind of just blows my mind in terms of how a post does well, how you gain followers, all this kind of stuff, and it's different for each platform. Um, and given so you're posting very regularly on Instagram, how do you manage that, say, with mental health? Because I'm not sure about your relationship with social media, but sometimes I find that social media can be quite taxing for my mental health.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. I think social media can have such a good and bad influence on you, and it just depends on what you're looking at and on the day, because it's hard to control what you see, because it all gets fired at you, and you're like, oh, hang on. I think can't speak. I think TikTok can be quite damaging. I think that it probably needs to be regulated a little bit more, because sometimes I'll see stuff that I just think, oh, I'm not happy seeing this. I definitely wouldn't be happy seeing anyone. I wouldn't be happy anyone younger than me seeing this. So maybe it's a good thing that I'm not a TikTok star. With Instagram though, I think it's okay. I feel like I can tune out a lot of anything negative that I see. I can kind of just focus on my account. And with everything being scheduled, a lot of the time I don't even need to go onto it. I can sort of dedicate a bit of time, sit down, get everything scheduled, get everything sorted, and then I can kind of put my phone down, which is nice. Of course, my screen time is far too much, but isn't everybody's. But I'm definitely actively working on being present a lot more, spending a lot more time with my friends, going to the pub. How English, I know. But yeah.
Yeah, it's a difficult one, just given, we do live in a life now where, we are pretty attached to our phones. And, given you schedule your posts, do you have to, like, do that through Instagram, or is there, like, a third-party app you use? How does that work?
Oh no, it's all on Instagram. I just type out the post as normal. You hit advanced settings, and then you can schedule up to 25 posts up to a month from when you want it, pretty much. So it's pretty simple.
I did not know there was an advanced settings button or advanced post button even. I really am useless with social media, I guess. Am I old? No, I'm not old. But
It's old and silly.
I'm not old. It's just you start getting these moments in your late 20s where someone will tell you something about like an app and you're like, wow, I didn't know that. And then it just makes you think about your parents and their relationship with technology. And you start to think, is that going to be me? Are they going to release like an app one day and I'm going to be too scared to use it?
Oh my god, I have the exact same fear. I'm so terrified. My main problem is connecting my smart TV to Wi-Fi. No matter how many times I do it, I can't do it. I don't know what's wrong with me. But
to be fair, I think that's the TV's fault because it never works for anyone. Maybe, well, it doesn't work for me.
You're so right.
Yeah, technology. But no, it's good you're on top of your posts. I think that's such an important thing. Because then, as you say, you do get more separation from it. Because otherwise, I've done it when I'm writing, say, like a new post for the podcast and getting everything ready. Because sometimes it's easier to do stuff on my phone rather than my laptop. I'm on social media and then I get distracted because I'm on social media and I don't actually get to the thing I'm meant to be doing. So it's good you can kind of get yourself some separation from that.
For sure.
And another question I wanted to ask you was, so if I'm correct, you have more of a focus on certain type of artists, is that correct? Is it mainly female, non-binary, queer, or
I don't think I mean to target anyone. I think I've connected with quite a few queer people. Not on purpose. I think maybe we're just drawn to each other. I think there's an unspoken bond between us all. But I'm down to work with pretty much anybody doing anything creative. is kind of what I'm after. So men, women, non-binary, gay, straight, I really don't mind. As long as they're doing something impressive and something cool, I will happily take a photo and talk to them.
Love that. Love that. I think I must have been thinking of another profile I was looking at. That wasn't me observing who you've interviewed with. I just remember reading that in some description somewhere. I can't remember for the life of me where, though.
Specify that it was like female-owned, queer, whatnot. That would be it, I think.
That's it. Are you the sole owner in this project then?
Yes, it is just me, myself, and I, and then me harassing my friends with my camera. That's pretty much it.
I love that. I love that. And I guess when you were starting off, like kind of participation from your friends was probably pretty important, right?
Oh, but they love it. They love it when I get the camera out. They all go, no, no, and then pose for me. So
it's not hard to motivate them, and you don't have to bribe them with anything. Just likes.
No, they're brilliant.
Yeah. And I think I know the answer to this question, given you love this project. But when you're kind of having periods where you're not feeling so creative or up to posting, how do you motivate yourself, or how do you deal with that?
I'll give you an example, actually. I was feeling a little bit down the other day. And I got one of my friends, Zoe, only because Lily wasn't there. We never separate. Never. And me, her, and her boyfriend, we all headed up to Brandon Hill, if Bristol regulars know. And the sun was just setting, and they were just like, come on, let's take some really cool photos. And I was like, you know what? Yeah, go on then. So I think to motivate me, I want to be around my friends, or even my family. I love my family to pieces. And I want to be in a nice scenery. I want to be in a beautiful place with beautiful people, pretty much.
I love that. And this is the thing I really miss about Bristol. There's so much access to like good, nice, beautiful green space so fast. It's just such a nice, like, cool city, and a place where you're in a city that's busy, but you can kind of get away and get a break pretty fast.
Yeah, absolutely. It's so good living. Even I live city centre, dead city centre, and to get to some green space, it takes me 5-10 minutes, and it can be quiet as anything. It's lovely.
Love that. And I wanted to ask next, what does progress with this project look to you?
I think progress is more focused on who I'm working with rather than who's seeing it, if that makes sense. So the more artists that I get to work with and the more that I post about them, I think is more important than how many people are viewing it, I think. I think as long as I'm getting some sort of interaction from people who are actually genuinely interested, I'd always choose that over just the number of followers or whatnot.
Yeah, I know what you mean, because it's, at the end of the day, it's like, it's nice that people are following you and acknowledging your work, but the true like feeling of joy from the project is the project at the end of the day. I feel like social media these days is kind of like almost a byproduct of needing to like publish somewhere and getting the word out, if that makes sense. It's very interesting like that, because I told myself before I started this podcast, it's not like your project, it's not for money, and I told myself, so long as I can have a good time and make it fun and have fun in the moment, even if I end up with 0 listeners or 0 followers, I'll cry. No, I'm joking. I'll still have a good time. And I think it's too easy if you're on a project and you get too focused on all the other stuff with social media, with recognition, with listens, with views, or whatever it is. It can kind of it could kill your desire for the project very fast.
Yeah.
But it's a tricky one. You have to kind of use it, but it's whatever your relationship is with it, which is part of the process and part of the journey, after all.
Completely I agree.
Something else I wanted to ask you was, so with this project, is it something that like all your family know about as well, or is it mainly among friends and just whoever sees your Instagram profile?
My family does know about it. Both my siblings follow it. Whether they care is a different question. And my parents know about it, but they're not massive social media people at all. So I guess a lot of it is friends. I think a lot of people at the music college know of the account. I don't know if they like click that it's me behind it and that they might know me in person, but I think a lot of people know about Meatgrinder in the communities that I really want them to know about me. So the music, the art. I don't think the art community knows as much about me, but I think that would be the next step. So I think I've got my foot in the door with the musicians a little bit.
Are there any other communities, say you're looking at music, art? Are there any kind of other communities you'd like to get involved with this project?
I'm kind of open to anything. I'd like to talk with some people who do like realism art. I think that's something I'm quite interested in because I just think it's just incredible, and I can't even imagine doing that myself. I've worked a little bit with this girl who writes poems, so I think that's quite interesting. But yeah, no, really anything creative, anything that makes me go, oh wow, this person deserves to have some sort of platform behind them.
I love that, and that's kind of you staying true to yourself with the project of rather than say promoting someone for the sake of promoting someone, promoting people that you actually genuinely like and believe in.
Mm-hmm. No, absolutely.
That's that. No, that's really cool. That is. So another question I wanted to ask you is, when you are going to be interviewing different artists, what sort of preparation do you put into that?
So what I tend to do is I have like a standardized list of questions about inspirations, and what their projects they've done and what they're working on. But before I see an artist, a lot of the time, sometimes I make a Pinterest board. I make a Pinterest board of the sort of photos that I want to get out of them, and I try and match their vibe, and then we go through it together. But then specifically for interviews, I make sure that I've listened to their music if it's music, or I've like checked out their art, so I can really ask them about it rather than being too generalized. Because when I am doing interviews, I want to make sure that each one is quite unique and one is like quite different. And most of all, entertaining. I think that's the important part, is that they're entertaining.
Yeah, totally. I think there is so much merit from kind of taking that effort before, and also given you're going to be interview them about their content, just it gives you a nice like understanding about who they are, what they release, what it is they do, but also in a kind of weirdly, it might sound weird, but in a personal way too, if that makes sense, because you're seeing like this part of their like soul that they put on display.
Exactly. Yes, you're so right.
And do you ever find that you've put this prep in, but you actually end up with like new questions in the moment you want to ask them?
Yeah, I think the questions that I just sort of have as a list are just, they're always like starting points, and I will always let the person that I'm talking to kind of go off and ramble a little bit more. The guy that I met yesterday, his art is all about bringing awareness to a heart disease that I didn't realize at all to begin with, and then he got talking into it, and I was like, oh, this is really deep and personal. This is so cool, and I let him have a good chat about it, and it was just amazing. It was so interesting.
That's incredible, and it's like that point where it's something you really wouldn't expect, and you almost like stop looking at your questions and you forget you're interviewing and you're just listening because like it's just so interesting.
Yeah, it's so interesting meeting so many different sorts of people. It's so cool.
100%, 100%. I also wanted to actually ask as well, in terms of doing the photography aspect of it, how does that process normally go in terms of choosing a setting and a place to do it, as well as do you ever have it where you've done the photography and you're not particularly too happy after and you want to do it again? Sorry, that was a lot of questions in one go, but
No, I think I got it. So on a general basis, I'll take a camera pretty much everywhere with me. I've got one on me right now. It'll be coming to me to the pub, just in case something interesting happens or I meet a new person. But for like meetups with artists, Like I said, I'll sort of develop maybe a Pinterest board for them and see, like, mostly for angles and lighting is what I focus on for my Pinterest boards, rather than what the actual person in the image looks like, because I never want to copy it. It's more just inspiration. And then if I'm not happy with the pictures, there's been a couple pictures that I'm not happy with, but if I'm doing a proper session with them, like the band that I mentioned, I spent a whole day with them, so I was like, well, I'm going to commit quite a bit of film to them. So there was a couple that I didn't like, but I think that's just part of the process of just dealing with film, because film is just so finicky. The cameras always break, the flash is never happy. I think it's just part of the process.
Yeah, definitely, and it's only from doing it that you're going to learn about this stuff. It's the things they don't tell us before you start. And because I find with each episode of the podcast, there's always a new challenge when it comes to editing. There's always something different I've never thought about that I will have to learn about. And have you found that so far, or do you find now you're kind of getting into a good rhythm where it's going a bit more smoothly?
It feels like every single time it goes smoothly, something around the corner happens. So I recently actually had to put to rest my favourite camera, my little Nikon. I love her so much, but she decided to just stop working. So I had to get a new one, and then there's always the costs, and then there's a problem with the developers, and the machine's not working, or there's always something. But we're in a smooth patch right now, so I'm not going to say too much before I jinx it.
Yeah, it's that's the thing with every different bit of technology. There's something different. It can be like sometimes the smallest thing that you would have never thought about, like, just even like having the right software so you can put it on your laptop or phone, or there's always just something very little you wouldn't consider, but that's it with technology, isn't it?
Exactly.
And given like the project's been going on since summer now, was summer a period where you didn't have to like study at the same time, or was summer still as busy as now?
So summer in terms of office life is a bit quieter because so many people have children, they have it all booked off and whatnot. But my uni is ongoing, so I do assignments throughout the year with a couple weeks break in between each different topic. So there was a little bit of time where it was just office rather than office and uni, which was quite nice.
Nice. And have you found like there's been a big difference in your patterns of how you run the project since things have got busier in your other aspects of life?
Yeah, since it's got busier, I haven't been able to go and see as many artists as I'd like. This week I've done really well. I've fully booked this week. I'm doing something each day, which was really good and productive. But there's definitely points where it lulls a little bit, but that's completely based on how I'm feeling on the week, really, to be honest. If I'm not feeling like I'm up to... Because it's quite a lot of socialising, that's the thing. You're meeting a new person or people or band each day. It can really be quite draining, no matter how cool a person is. So I think it's definitely affected my productivity on how I'm feeling on the day and whether I'm tired or not.
And it's hard. It is hard with the balance because you want to go out, you want to see people, but you have to give time to yourself as well. Because I find sometimes I want to, like, if I could do everything, I'd like happily record the podcast every day, but I can't, and I'm conscious that if I burn out, then my kind of ability to interview on the podcast and also to just be happy doing the podcast might change, which in turn will change my own enjoyment of it. So sometimes there's that kind of interesting thing of wanting, to have your energy, to have your spirit when you go out and pursue your creative venture. But at the same time, do you ever have it where you're having one of those days where you feel super tired, you don't feel like going, but you go, and then all the energy comes out because you're enjoying it?
Absolutely. I actually have a very good example of that. I was off to go, I think I mentioned this earlier, but I was off to go watch rehearsal for a couple of hours. Off in, it was in Cheltenham so it was a trek. They picked me up and everything, but on the morning, it was first thing, and I just thought, I really don't want to do this. I don't want to do this. But I was like, right, you're going to be fine. It's literally like 2 hours worth of just sitting there, chilling, getting to know people. And I had so much fun that I stayed the whole day. I think rehearsals started at 11. I got picked up at something like 9, and I stayed with them until 6 or 7 in the evening. I had such a good time. And I would absolutely hang out with that band again. It'd be great.
It just goes to show, like, had you not gone, you wouldn't realise this. So there is that delicate balance of sometimes you just go and it really surprises you. But then there are those times where you do have to listen to your body. I never know where the line is because sometimes I'm like, I should listen to my body and not go, and I just go and it's great. But yeah, I think it's a very specific thing to each person. We all deal with it in a very different manner. And I also wanted to ask you, so do you have any tips for people who are starting a creative project in terms of maybe setting up, but also in terms of balancing?
In terms of setting up, I would say don't be embarrassed by it. I think if you're going to do something, do it proper, put your heart into it, make sure you enjoy it. Don't just do it because someone else thinks it's cool. If you're not enjoying it, it's not going to be good. Make sure you're passionate and you find it fun, because the second the fun's out of it, it's the quality just, it gets reflected, and I believe that completely. And share it on all the platforms that you have, Instagram, TikTok, whatever. Don't be shy about it. And get your friends on board, because if your friends are on board, not only do you have support, you can also use their platforms. It's brilliant. Everyone can repost it.
Yeah, I think I need to do that. I kind of like, I do advertise it to my friends, but I get a little bit shy. I do, like, not shy because of my work I've done. Like, I'm very proud of this podcast. I'm very happy to record. I really like what I've done with this. It's like I feel shy just to ask them.
Absolutely. And I think that's the thing that comes with taking photos of people, is that I don't really need to ask because they're tagged in it. And when they look good, they want to share it. So it kind of works in my favour a little bit.
Yeah, that's basically me. I remember a few weeks ago in Berlin, this person who took Polaroid pictures took a photo of me. And then I was just thinking, the minute he sends me that photo, that's going on my Instagram. It's a good photo.
That's the thing. People like to feel good, and they like it when they look good. And so, thankfully, it just works in my favour doing photos.
Yeah. And what you said about having fun with it and trying to enjoy it, it's so true. And I think as well, like, even if it's something that you're starting and you're not too sure about if you will enjoy it, maybe just to try it, because you never know. You might enjoy it a lot more than you thought. But even if you didn't actually enjoy it, at least you tried and you saw what it meant to you, and it still has a net positive result than never even starting in the first place.
Absolutely, you're so right.
Yeah, I think on that note, it would be now a good time to wrap up. It was great to have you on the show, and would you like to plug anything?
Oh, well, I'm going to have to plug Meatgrinder, aren't I? So that is Meatgrinder, no space, and then a _. Please go follow it. I post a lot about my friends and some really cool musicians and artists that you probably really would enjoy. So definitely go follow that.
Yep, there you go. Give Bethan a follow on her Instagram account. And I've seen it, I'm impressed. Like, the photography is really good. I'm liking the diversity of artists that you're getting at the moment in terms of like what they do. Like, I saw it when you had the girl who does poetry, and I thought that was really cool. That was like nice to see that you're definitely appreciating all art forms that you really enjoy. But yeah, and also your account is growing so fast, and there's a reason for that, because it's good. It is good. But it was great to have you on, Bethan, and hopefully one day I'll actually meet you in person.
That would be brilliant. Thank you so much for having me.
No worries. Take care.
Bye.